Hello, I'm Loren Sederstrom. I'm the host of the All Around Grant Show, and I have my co-host with me today, Larry Lanou. Well, we have a lot of things to cover today. We're going to be starting out showing you some, it was Gast House and Artie Schaefer Day declared by the Washington County Commissioners for April 23rd. We'll be bringing you some of that, plus we're going to be bringing you some of the other happenings that have been happening in the city of Grant. So we have a lot to share with you today. Of course, it's starting to warm up and the weather's getting better, that's enough to cheer everybody up. But you're going to see a lot of clips. We have a lot of clips going on. There was a little incident at the last city council meeting we're going to talk about. But first, let's start with some fun stuff. And what this is the Washington County Board of Commissioners in recognition of the Gast House, which is a restaurant in Grant. And there was an article in the paper talking about the Gast House. It was on the front page of the local section. There's some of the original workers, and there it is, proclaiming the 23rd was the Gast House and Artie Schaefer Day. So what we're going to do is we have 3 or 4 clips on that, and we're just going to give you the meat and potatoes of it. So if we could play the first clip, please, control room. We're talking the other side.
In honor of that 50th anniversary, we've got a Commissioner Service Award. I want to read through this, but it says, on behalf of a grateful county and upon the recommendation of leading citizens, the undersigned commissioner hereby extends recognition and appreciation to the Gast House Bavarian Hunter to recognize 50 years of cultural richness and excellent service that the Gast House Bavarian Hunter has provided Washington County for outstanding service in support of Washington County's mission. And Kim, I want to present this to you at this time.
I appreciate it very much. I appreciate everybody's support, family and friends over the years, and we're just going to keep on trucking along.
Now, the Gast House is off Manning Avenue in McCusick, and it was started in 1966 by her father, and it's kind of an institution out there. It's a German restaurant, and they serve fine German beer. They've started an Oktoberfest, so it's kind of a local place that it's kind of classy, you know.
It's open more than just during the Oktoberfest, Lauren. They welcome us for the tractor parade. They're a great asset to our community, and if you haven't had a chance to stop in there, visit. The bike path just goes down there. If you want to take a bike path, stop in and have a refreshment, you're more than welcome.
They even have a little corral if people ride horses, and some people do go up there on horseback. The other interesting thing about that is Artie Schaefer is a retired insurance man, and he's been playing with his polka band there for many, many years.
43 years, I think he said.
So if control room can play the next clip, we'll see him getting his award also.
We want to recognize him again. This is a resolution that the county board passed. Commissioner Kriesel supported it along with the other commissioners on the county board, and it's dated April 19th, 2016. Whereas the Gast House Bavarian Hunter restaurant located in the city of Grant will be celebrating its 50th anniversary. And whereas the family-owned and operated German restaurant was opened by Carl and Elizabeth Schoen in July of 1966, and whereas the restaurant successfully rebuilt after a tragic fire in 1987, has been operated by the Schoen family throughout the 50 years, and whereas the restaurant has scheduled a number of events throughout calendar year 2016 to celebrate its 50th anniversary, and whereas the restaurant has hosted many weddings, special events, and banquets, and is an important part of the St. Croix Valley restaurant scene. And whereas Artie Schaefer has been a loyal band member at the Gast House Bavarian Hunter restaurant, providing its guests with lively music, and whereas both the Gast House Bavarian Hunter restaurant and Mr. Schaefer have been major contributors to the health and happiness of residents and visitors to Washington County, therefore be it resolved that the Washington County Board of Commissioners hereby proclaims April 23rd, tomorrow, 2016 as Gast House Bavarian Hunter and Artie Schaefer Day in Washington County in recognition of the richness that they have brought to life in Washington County. I want to present this to Artie.
Very, very fine gentleman, one of the real
Artie's always been an asset to our community. He has served
Pillars of our community is
as
the
our
word I was
clerk.
looking for.
And when we talk about saving and honoring our heritage, that's the type of thing we're trying to do. Preserve, protect, and promote.
Well, wonderful man. And the next clip we're going to have him talking about teamwork. And we're going to be talking a little bit about that on the other side. So if control room could play that, please.
These 43 years, actually we're going back to day one to visit the Gottschalks in their early years. Once in a while they have dinner here. But these 43 years has been nothing but a big lump of happiness for me and my band members. All made it possible to attract crowds that grew and grow and grow and grow by the year. At the Balls Fest, for instance, in the woods, and especially at the Oktoberfest. This will be my 28th one coming up this year, and it's just been a wonderful trip. But all in all, it takes a team, not just me. I'm glad to be a part of it. But Tim, the captain, has organized great teams throughout the years, and they make the dream work. Teamwork makes the dream work. Thank you very much.
That's
Loren,
what we're trying to say. Teamwork makes the dream work. And that's what we'd like to see
and that
happen
is
in
a
Grant.
well-oiled team at the Gasthaus. And folks, I encourage you to go there, stop in, and just try it. It's like I said, it's an asset to our community, but it's kind of hitchhiking on the teamwork. Dallas, if you could pull up the next the deal from the city of Grant over here. We'll show you the council majority, or the two realtors in our city council, and the teamwork that they belong to. Now, right over there, and these are taken from the minutes of the April agenda, and this is a team that Mayor Carr and Councilman Jeff Huber, both realtors, are signing up for. If you look there, they say approval of consent agenda, and Loren, as we all know, consent agenda means they don't allow discussion. They just slip it in there. And what they had
Well,
on...
what the consent agenda is supposed to be for routine items like paying the electric bill and the gas bill. However, they used to abuse it, where what they do is they put things on the consent agenda because there's no debate allowed. So that's what they've slipped in.
And what I'm getting at, folks, you can go back there. That's the April 7th, 2015 minutes. You'll see it was put on the consent agenda. And it was a partnership with East Metro Water Resource Program partnership. The other one that they seem to do, and it's all, I guess if you read some of the minutes here, I go down there, it's got to do with the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency, stormwater planning. It's also, and the MPC is also hand in hand with Met Council that we have out there. If you look at the minutes, you'll see that Councilman Huber moved to approve the ordinance for this partnership update. We recently got in our city email, thanks for partnering up with the Metro Water Program. It was unanimous by the council majority, Realtor Tom Carr and Jeff Huber, along with Tina Loban. And you can see, Loren, in the minutes, as motion carried, member Sederstrom and Lanu voting nay. Folks, we don't need to be part of Met Council. I realize if we aren't careful, we'll be governed by them altogether. And I think their honest goal is to bring in Met Council sewer and water. If you look at that, the minutes will show it. And if you could pull up that next clip, maybe. And this talks about Met Council releases a final report on Northeast Metro Water Supply. It's all part of the same program. And approach number one is to spend $623 million to connect communities with St. Paul Regional Water Service. That's why twice I put together a resolution opposing legislation to put a wastewater treatment to augment White Bear Lake. But the realtors on our team, folks, I encourage you, look at what they do, now what they say. Because they're all going to come back in next November and campaign and say, oh, I want to keep Grant rural. But look at their minutes. Their minutes will show their actions. So be very careful. We do have some great teamwork out in Grant. And Artie and the Gasthaus is an example of great teamwork. The other team on the other side is to bring that change about. And remember, they've learned very well that the court says you're allowed to lie during campaign season. So
Be careful, folks.
so check out the facts for yourself.
Okay,
These
now
are the minutes.
We're going to finish it up with one real brief clip showing the Gast House so you can see what we're talking about. And you're just going to, there's the sign, and the hours of the kitchen. It's very nice. That's very nicely landscaped. And then there should be a little more on there, I think. There we go. You see the entryway, that's where most people walk in. There we go. Thank you, Control.
And then, Lauren, I want to remind you that I think it was in the 70s that they had the fire and they had to rebuild the Gast House.
87.
Or was it 87 that the fire was? And it got rebuilt. And folks, I'd like to give you a little update. I don't know if some of you just noticed or not, but I wasn't at the last city council meeting. I had a house fire of my own. And I want to thank the Matamidi Fire Department, Stillwater Fire Department, the Hugo Fire Department showed up, the White Bear Lake Fire Department. So mutual aid was good. It showed up.
Teamwork.
And so that is an example of another team. But I will tell you that one of the things I was asked by one of the captains from the Matamidi Fire Department is see what we can do to get our dry hydrant working. I know a lot of you people might go back a few newsletters. You'll see Councilman Huber getting his picture taken, working with to fix a dry hydrant. Truth of the matter is, there's a house that was less than 1,000 feet away that burnt to the ground, $830,000 home. Dry hydrant was right there, couldn't hook up to it. Folks, if that's the best Jeff can do, and the houses are burning around his best project, that's a shining moment. He better get out there and work as a team. Let's get that dry hydrant working. Folks, I want to thank my house was, I've had some substantial damage, but it was saved. I mean, it didn't burn to the ground, so I want to thank the fire departments out there, but they did ask me to get our city together out there. Number one, move that dry hydrant back. Once I've been told it's sucking the dirt off the bottom, then I've been told it's cracked and it sucks air. And folks, I think we can do it together. Maybe work with the DNR. I've talked to the DNR. They would help put a fishing pier down there and manage that. So maybe it's time a team gets together and finishes it up. So thank you.
Well, now we're shifting gears. And we're going to start talking schools, of course, on several other programs. I've talked about Stillwater schools. I've talked about Matamidi schools. And there's 3 lawsuits currently going so they don't close those 3 schools, one of which is Withrow School, which is one of the top 5 elementary schools in the state. I've documented that. And there's some other things. Channel 5 did a little expose. Well, we're going to be talking about schools for a little while. So if we could, control room could play that Channel 5 piece, please. And we'll talk on the other side, explain some of the interesting things that are happening.
Stillwater School District decided to close 3 elementary schools. We obtained internal emails that show district officials held private meetings with board members to discuss the controversial proposal. As you know, elected officials are governed by Minnesota's open meeting laws. And last night, Joe Augustine broke the story on ethical concerns in the district. He's here now with the latest on the legal concerns. Joe?
Well, Leah, we are investigating how the school board decided to close those elementary schools. We found the superintendent organized private meetings with board members, and in the new lawsuit filed today, parents accused the district of violating open meeting laws and illegally closing schools. These elementary schools will shut down at the end of next school year, but a group of parents in Stillwater who have campaigned to keep those schools open filed a new lawsuit Wednesday asking a judge to void the controversial 5-2 school board vote. The lawsuit claims the district and the board acted in reckless disregard of the truth last year when it told voters a $97.5 million bond referendum would be used for the 3 schools they later decided to close. And that is just the beginning. The district, school board, and superintendent are accused of violating the state's open meeting laws. According to the lawsuit, they sought to hide their manner of conducting serialized meetings. Internal emails obtained by 5 Eyewitness News show the date and times of small meetings between the superintendent and board members back in November, before the proposal was announced. And in January, before the board voted to close the 3 elementary schools, the superintendent's office asked all board members to meet individually or in 2s or 3s, and specifically stated, no 4s, please.
How would you characterize that?
Well, to me, it's an effort to try to, in their view, circumvent the law.
We showed the internal emails to Professor David Schultz from Hamline University. He specializes in government ethics.
They're trying to resolve issues in these private meetings outside of public inspection.
The district disagreed and argued the meetings were not for deliberation by board members or to fashion an agreement on any pending issues. Any statement or implication that the purpose of the meetings was to avoid the open meeting law is false.
That's both naive and a real narrow construction of the law.
Wednesday's lawsuit comes a day after a 5 Eyewitness News investigation revealed other ethical concerns within the Stillwater district. We found the school's finance director recommended the school board use the employee-owned and operated financial firm Robert W. Baird to issue the $97.5 million in bonds. Hoheisel's husband is a managing director at the firm and was a primary contact for the district. They even presented together at a school board meeting last July.
You know what, Mike? I'm going to bring you up here.
Kristen Hoheisel failed to recuse herself or formally disclose their relationship to voters. And now, according to the new lawsuit, the district is accused of ignoring another conflict of interest. The school board will pay the BWBR architecture firm nearly $5 million to design the new elementary school, even though board member Kathy Buchholz is married to the principal and vice president of the firm. Buchholz recused herself from the vote and disclosed her relationship to the district. But according to a list of 7 architecture bids reviewed by 5 Eyewitness News, the board picked BWBR even though 3 other firms submitted lower bids.
4th lowest bid, possible other breaches of conflict of interest, possible problems regarding private meetings here. We don't know why, in the end, this was picked as the bid.
Now, every board member and district official named in the lawsuit either declined or did not respond to our interview requests. The district has ignored repeated requests for interviews about the conflicts of interest and internal emails highlighted in our investigation. But the district did send a letter to all parents today acknowledging our report and alleging it's part of a political agenda. They did not refute any of the facts we detailed in our story last night. You can see their entire response on our investigation online at kstp.com. Leah?
And Joe, Stillwater School Board will hold a meeting tomorrow night to decide whether the school closures will be put on hold until the lawsuits are resolved. You can count on us to be there.
Here.
Lauren, they're talking about school closures there, and actually, truth of the matter is, they're short $1.2 million to operate the 3 schools, which in their realm of their budget isn't that much.
Well, what's more interesting is they're going to spend $3.5 million to build a garage for buses that they don't even own.
Right.
That's more ludicrous.
Well, I mean, and we all know it's the open enrollment Matamita that's driven this. And I think, Dallas, do we have a clip of the school superintendent salaries? Because I think we pulled one up for Matamita. And if you look at some of the salaries that are up there, we're trying to pull it up here, but you will see the school superintendent. It's a little hard to read in there, but the school superintendent salary is about $223,000
for Matamidi?
For Matamidi.
$227,000 with benefits.
Right.
4 schools, mind you.
And he manages 4 schools. The governor only makes $170,000 roughly, and he manages the whole state.
Well, it's interesting. Pontrelli in Stillwater has about 16 schools, I believe, and she only makes $160. But I don't know what the benefits are.
And that's why, Lauren, we do have another. Dallas, he's trying to pull that up where we can see that a little bit. But boy, we've got a homeless coordinator. We got 3 homeless kids in the Matamita School District that paid $60,000, $70,000 for the 3 homeless kids.
They could just give the homeless kids $15,000 a year and they wouldn't be homeless anymore.
Yeah, they'd have a place to stay. I mean, folks, that's why there has been a petition to merge the Matamita and school districts together. If they did that, Dallas, if you could maybe pull up that next clip, it just shows
how much we could save.
Yeah,
Okay.
and folks, I know it's probably not going to be real easy to see on the deal, but the impact and savings would be, if you're in the Matamidi School District, anywhere between a 30 to 40% on your tax savings if you merge the two school districts. We'd get rid of one whole set of administrative costs, administrative buildings they could merger, and we'll bring together, look forward to the next White Bear Press. They're talking about a letter. They put an article that the school districts talked about why they don't want to merge, and they didn't bother to ask the petitioners the benefits of merging. So I think they're writing a rebuttal.
Well, it's a lot of money involved, but the two districts spend $6.5 million on administration, okay? And you could cut that in half by going down to one set of superintendents. Not only that, Stillwater provides the lunch program and a lot of special education assistance for Matamidi. And Matamidi has sent their alternate learning center, assigned it to Century College or 916. So they
take them out of their district, their
so
school
they don't
district.
average the grades. So there's a lot of shenanigans going on. They're spending a lot of money. If you look at the taxes, the difference between the Stillwater district and Matamidi, there's a significant difference. We're talking thousands, folks, $1,000 more on the average, at least.
In your pocket when you pay your property taxes.
Mm-hmm.
And so, folks, you don't have to believe us. Look at Eyewitness News, just what they pulled up there. The more you start digging, the more you find.
Well, and plus, they've at Wildwood, they have two of the teachers have cancer. One has brain cancer, one has thyroid cancer.
And now they've just come up with a 6-year-old that's gone to school over there. That's and if you read her Karen Bridge site, she didn't want to go back to school there, folks. The parents said she's not. They thought they'd be anxious to get back there, but she's not. You know, it's kind of funny that a 6-year-old has got more common sense and intuition. She doesn't want to go back into that building, folks. It's exactly what we said. That's why we worked hard with Aaron Brockovich to try to prevent building a school on a dump site. Our educators are more interested in the bottom dollar than education.
Absolutely. Okay, well, that kind of takes care of the school situation. I think it's an ongoing thing. We'll bring you more developments as they come. Now we're going to go to a little more local grant, show you some teamwork in Grant. It was Earth Day on the 23rd, I believe, and it was also, by the way, the Horse Expo, and of course, there's many people in Grant that have horses, and so, but the city wisely or unwisely, depending which way you look at it, decided to have their Earth Day cleanup on Saturday the 23rd, which was when half the people in Grant, or many of the people in Grant, were at Horse Expo. So I have a real short clip here just panning to show you. I went there with a camera to show, find out what was happening. It was fairly deserted. It was kind of like Ghost Earth Day. You see the helpers sitting there, waiting for people to show up. The dumpster's almost empty. There's the ball field. They have a couple kids cleaning up out there.
Lauren, if we...
And there is, you're talking to the road commissioner, and there is a little thing they had with cookies. And of course, they have some dumpsters there for recycling, and there's the infamous Miss Loban. That
I guess we got her better side, but...
Yeah, must be.
Lauren, you know, do you remember when the GRP civic group was trying to, and we did 3 or 4 cleanups in a row, we were very careful not to schedule during the Horse Expo because we were a little bit more sensitive to the community, and that's when the kids from 4-H would come out and help us out. And we put out, we had 50, 60 people out there in teams cleaning the roads, not just an occasional person bringing in their garbage.
And this is just city roads, not county roads, mind you. It's just city roads
right.
to clean up.
But it was very successful, and it was a community event. When it was done, we fed the people. In fact, it got to be the point that they didn't want to leave. They're all having a good time, but the council majority has taken the wind out of everybody's sails. And folks, most citizens won't come out there and support their councils anymore.
Well, not only that, they kicked 4-H out of the town hall and had been meeting there for 50 years. So, you know, that's the type of...
That's why Jeff Huber went out and he got Washington County Sense to Serve to paint our fences instead of our kids. Now, what are we trying to teach them? I guess they got
to serve. I don't know.
Yeah, I think they all got out on the Huber law. I'm not sure.
Yeah, could be it. Okay, now what we're going to shift gears to is what happened at the last city council meeting. In Levitt, I have to give you the background on this, and we've viewed this before, but I'll just encapsulate it quickly. Last year, on the 30th of July, on the Monday before that, the 26th, we put in, or 27th, we put in for a meeting to ratify and send on the charter to the county, because you have to give the county notice 74 days before it's on the ballot. Well, we saw that limit or a date looming, so we put in a meeting on Monday. Well, on Wednesday, they canceled that and called an emergency meeting. Now, emergency meetings are for like tornadoes, floods, fires.
Weather events, yes.
Okay. Well, so then they had called it for 3 o'clock, saying that they couldn't make it. And then when they tried to put the August agenda on the July 30th agenda, we protested and said, you can't do that. I said, there's 3 public hearings for conditional use permits. You have to give people 72 hours notice. You can't do that. We were upset, and Larry and I left because we were not going to participate in a meeting.
In an illegal meeting.
An illegal meeting. Well, Ms. Loben, the reason that she couldn't be there is she had a water ski practice over by Centennial Lakes. Well,
there's one there every Thursday night if you'd like to go.
And Mr. Dewesky is one of the reporters for my show. We sent him there to ask a public official one question in a public place: why could you not attend the 6 o'clock meeting? Was the practice that important? Well, she then called the Centennial Lakes Police Department saying she was being harassed, and they said, well, this is just for notification. You'll see this in the clip a little bit later. And then when nothing happened, she somehow got our city attorney to work through the ways and get a felony charge of stalking against Tim Dewesky, my reporter for my All Around Grant show, and he's a regular contributor. So anyway, that's what happened. And at the last city council meeting, Mayor Carr blindsided me with a 20-minute tirade that I filed a false police report, I lied.
Was it on the agenda, Loren?
It was not on the agenda. It was at the end of the meeting. And I was very surprised because the court case has been settled. The judge said he didn't acquit Mr. Dewesky. He said there was no probable cause. Folks, that means the case should have never been brought to begin with.
Actually, what the
merit.
district court said was there was no probable cause. In fact, the state only proved its case that Mr. Dewesky was working in the capacity as a reporter. Mm-hmm. And he was protected under the First Amendment rights.
And to flesh this out a little bit more, the former mayor of Maplewood, and who was also an attorney, I went on the local news live and we discussed it for a whole hour. We have too many things to cover, but what I am giving you is the highlights of her legal opinions about the Tim Dewesky case and how it was basically tossed out of court. So if Control Room could play the next clip, please.
You're right in that if you're being charged with stalking, it's not something to take lightly. But the issue that really bothers me in what you're explaining is the heavy-handed use by elected government officials of using the power they have against ordinary residents or other citizens in and around the community who are being community watchdogs. And we see this not only just as what we're talking about here in the city of Grant, but we have seen this on several occasions in the city of Maplewood, where they will bring harassment restraining orders against citizen watchdogs in the community, and then those citizen watchdogs in the community need to defend themselves. And in the two incidences that I know of, in both cases, both community watchdogs were found not guilty. But you still have to defend, and that costs money. It also serves to chill community discourse, because then other people in the community, they say, well, I don't want to be getting involved, because what if they sue me? Then I'm going to have to figure out how to pay an attorney. Well, that's exactly right. And Maplewood has another case now currently where, again, it is a case of political retaliation, where they are using their authority and their might to try to chill community discourse. And
that's exactly what they're doing. And there's a number of lawsuits going on, and that's what they do. What started way back when Chris Flug wanted to add horses to her farm, and they took her to court, and the city lost. Not only that, normally they just make a neutral ruling, but this particular judge said the actions of the city of Grant were arbitrary and capricious. So folks, this team has a track record of legal harassment.
We're going back to where we had 14 lawsuits in a year. Right now, I know we got probably 3 of them that are open right now at a cost to the citizens about $50,000 per case. And my guess on the outcome is that we're going to find out that Nick hasn't got a very good track record, because he is acting in behalf of the council majority. It's not based on statute.
Well, that's what we're going to come up with next. The next clip is talking about a prosecutorial duty. In other words, if there isn't a case, do you recommend it to go forward? So if control room, could you play the next clip, please?
Who authorized the city attorney to
pursue
the case, especially if you don't have the necessary elements for stalking? The prosecutor should know when and if the elements of stalking have been met. And the prosecutor actually has a duty to only prosecute those cases where they truly believe they have probable cause. And so that was an issue, I think, in this stalking case with Mr. Derwisky, is that it was questionable if there was ever probable cause to bring the charges at all.
That's it. There. Well, what's interesting is stalking is like fraud. It has to meet 3 or 4 conditions, and part of stalking is you have to be following a person. Okay, Mr. Derwisky was there before Tina Loban was. She had indicated that he followed her from this 3 o'clock meeting, which is not true. I signed an affidavit to the fact, and so did Larry, that he was never at the city council meeting. So there she lied on a police report. Gee, is the city prosecutor doing anything about lying?
Filing false police reports? No.
Oh, absolutely not. So again, there was a prosecutorial duty to look at this and not bring it. But again,
he's responsible if it's brought forward to review it. If he sees there's merit, he has a duty to bring it forward. But once he realizes there is no merit, it is his duty to drop it. But it's not in his financial incentive to do that.
Well, they're working on commission. The more business he gets, the more, because he's a partner, the more money he takes home. And we have another interesting perspective on this, and we'll talk on the other side of this. So if control room could play the next clip.
Had one of our council members harassed. We felt, the city attorney felt, after looking at everything, that we pursue this. We did. And at the end of the day, what happened is because Mr. Sederstrom.
Now, I want to point out here real quick. He said, we did. He didn't say he did. I see a very great distinction there, because when a prosecutor works for a city and has that contract, they are working on behalf of the city. They're not working on behalf of the city council members. And so when city council members are talking about what prosecutors are doing on behalf of the city, they would refer to them generally as he did, the firm did, not we did. By taking ownership of it like that, that indicates to me that he was one of those people that was talking with the prosecutor, working up the case, because there's possession there. There's that feeling of ownership. So let's continue.
The other thing I want to add, none of these lawsuits have been voted on by the city council. In other words, we never hear of it. It never comes up for a vote. They just go ahead with them.
Yeah.
So we'll continue with the clip.
Yes.
There. That's really interesting. All of a sudden, these lawsuits appear. We don't find out about them. It's smoke and mirrors. But obviously, from the mayor's comments, he's obviously involved in these decisions, these situations, choosing what to prosecute. Really interesting. A number of years ago, when you and I went down to the League of Minnesota Cities, we were lobbying down at the Capitol, and I wanted to get a job description for a clerk of a similar size city that we have, because we had no job description. Of course, the mayor in his wisdom told the city clerk, well, why don't you write your own job description? Which I thought, having taught business management, I thought that's not the way you do things. And so he then brought me up in charges in hearing that I was impersonating a planning commissioner when I was one. And of course, he didn't follow the law there either. There was supposed to be a public outcome of it. But that's very interesting.
Loren, if you remember, they sent out the deputy sheriff, and we willingly did a 45-minute deposition. They sent it to the county attorney to get us prosecuted. The county sent it over to Ramsey County, because the League of Minnesota Cities is in Ramsey County next to the Capitol. Ramsey County looked at it and says, well, they're asking for job description for city planner, city administrator, and a city clerk. Did they say that they were the treasurers and needed your checking account numbers? No, there was no harm done. We were simply asking to see if we can have a better type of governance in our city.
And I was on the planning commission. That's the interesting thing.
And so the city of St. Paul refused to prosecute. That's what a prosecutor is supposed to do, not what DoubleClick Nick's doing. He's running that meter.
Well, we have a little bit longer clip. It runs almost 4 minutes, so bear with us. We're going to go through this, but it's a very good clip, brings a lot of information out. So if we could play that clip, please.
Always know if they have probable cause or not until they get into discovery, because sometimes the way the report's written, it looks like there's probable cause, and then once you get into discovery, you find there isn't. Well, I think that's sort of what happened in this case. Now, when they were going to have that probable cause hearing in Washington County, I actually attended the court proceedings, because I, as a reporter for Local News Live, wanted to be able to come on these programs and to talk about the probable cause hearing in this case, because it is rather fascinating. Instead, this is what I saw and observed, is that there was no probable cause hearing, and that the attorney for the gentleman being charged and the attorney for the law firm, which was not
Eckbert Glammers.
Eckbert, well, the person that's your city council.
Nick Vivian.
Nick Vivian. It was not Nick Vivian who was the prosecutor. It was some other
Rebecca
attorney.
Christensen.
Okay, other attorney from the law firm. And she worked out an agreement with the defendant's attorney that they would present their documentation on both sides to the court without a hearing, so that the judge could review all that documentation and make that determination. However, what I witnessed, not that, but something else I witnessed was very disturbing, because I was sitting in the back of the courtroom, and behind the courtroom there are two different rooms that have glass on both sides of them that are basically for prosecutors and attorneys to either talk with their clients or to talk with defendants to have a little privacy. But in one of those rooms was the prosecutor for the city of Grant, and she was explaining to some of those council members of the city of Grant the direction and the decision and the way how the case was going to be handled. Then all heck occurred. One of the city council members, Mr. Huber, started yelling and screaming at her and telling her how to do her job. Now, I will tell you, I have never witnessed such a situation in my life where you've got a prosecutor and you've got city council members that are all lined up together, the three of them. You had Huber, Loben, and Mayor Carr all sitting together on the same side of the courtroom, and then when they find out that really this is not going their direction, they're in that room basically shouting and demeaning that prosecutor, telling her to do her job and how to do it. Now, that is not the way that it's supposed to be done when a city has a prosecution contract.
Absolutely. I found that was rather interesting. And again, I'm getting a professional opinion on this, someone that has practiced law for a great number of years, been in a number of cases, and I wanted a legal perspective on this. And
Not only legal, Lauren, she's been the mayor of Maplewood. I mean, she's been on both sides of the coin.
Oh, absolutely. And this was just unbelievable. Again, I did a whole show on it. We did a whole hour show on it, and we barely covered it. But now what we're going to do is we're going to show the reasoning behind what they do and the smoke and mirrors and what they do. So, and also the lies, I might add, which made that host very uncomfortable when I used the word lie, I might add. So if we could play the next clip, please.
That you were in the courthouse when Tina Loben and the mayor of Grant and Jeff Huber, I guess his name is, was in a certain room together. If that's true, wouldn't that be a open meeting violation right there with three council persons together in one room? My second question to you was, after watching the minutes or the disc from last Tuesday night, part of the minutes for that meeting was a discussion of the milling of McCusick Avenue. And I know that Loren got up and gave out some documents from last October, or from last July, and with two ladies from the League of Minnesota Cities sitting out in the audience, Mr. Huber said that he couldn't take that because it was an open meeting violation discussing McCusick Avenue, this quote that Loren had. And then jumping into this harassment of Tom Carr onto Loren, that then would become an open meeting violation because that wasn't even on the minutes to begin with.
Okay.
So I think that this is a proven, going back to the Washington County courthouse, all the way through they use those open meeting violation situations for their own benefit, I believe.
Okay.
The Stillwater School District, they are getting caught on a lot of these open meeting violations, and it's hard to get them held accountable to it because government agencies don't like to go after other government agencies.
Oh, they tiptoe around on that very, very well. You know, they're real.
They talk about it. It's part of that transparency and everything they always talk about during campaigns. But the truth of the matter is, it's very hard to get them held accountable.
So, and that's one of the problems.
And that's what the caller said. He witnessed a council majority go and give direction to the city prosecutor. When those three entered that room, it was not a posted meeting. It was not a city council meeting. That was an open meeting violation. all 5 councilmen were there, but they weren't allowed to go into that prosecutors and have a vote. That was an open meeting violation.
About 2 years ago, they had a judgment against them when the judge said that they had to send the city clerk to League of Minnesota Cities or similar organization to learn data practices and violation of open meeting law, and she was to, quote, make a presentation at a regularly scheduled city council meeting without exception, unquote. So you would think that they would be a little bit more astute and aware of this.
It already cost the city plenty money to go and defend it. They don't seem to worry about going to court because they're using your tax dollars and using your city attorney. When they have to start paying for it themselves, it'll change.
Could we do 372 next? That's the open meeting violation one?
About the documents at the council meeting and whether or not, what are the requirements or what can you talk about at a council meeting? Now, if this council meeting that they were having was a regularly scheduled council meeting, you do not necessarily need to put everything that you're going to talk about on that agenda.
If I could add, McCusick Road was a topic of conversation on that particular agenda. They were talking about millings, and we have a new city engineer, and I had a city engineer report from last year showing that they could do an overlay for $120,000. The documentation they had to rebuild, that was in last July. The document they had about McCusick Road this year was it was going to cost $457,000. So they keep, they basically give false information.
Right. So, but the question is about the documents themselves, and that the documents, if they were brand new and they weren't available for the public to view, that's a no-no. I mean, if you have new documents that the council is reviewing, even if it's, a regular council meeting, and even if it's been noticed on the agenda, if they're new documents that the council's reviewing and there's not a copy available for the public, that is a violation of the open meeting law. Now, the question is about, can you talk about things at that meeting that aren't on the agenda?
Well, it was on the agenda.
I know, but the other question he asked was this third question. And that question is that you can talk about things that are not on the agenda as long as it is a regularly scheduled meeting. If it is a special meeting, then you cannot. You can only talk about those things that are on the agenda.
There. So what I was saying was that had been in the July meeting last year, and I was bringing a copy, and Mr. Huber went into a tizzy that it was a violation of open meeting law and they couldn't talk about it. Well, McCusick Road was in fact on the agenda, and this was a document from last year. And it will be again on the next city council agenda, and it'll be in the packet, and we'll see where it goes from there. To me, it makes no sense spending $25,000 a year to repair a road when you can do a quick fix in the last 8 to 10 years for $120,000.
Actually, it's not 25, Loren. I want to correct you on that. If you look at the minutes from the last in the packet, WSB, this year to patch McCusick was $75,000. It was in the packet. Folks, 10 years of patching it, we could probably gravel a good part of Grant.
That's true. So that takes care of that issue. Now if we can go back to 371, if we have that. That was the missing clip.
Probable cause.
Let's get our film out.
Any one of you ever gotten a speeding ticket where the officer did not believe there was probable cause that you were in fact speeding? Well, of course not. You got the ticket because there was probable cause that you were speeding or creating some other violation. The gentleman he's talking about obviously got a citation for harassing our council member.
So I just want to point out that that is Council Member Huber, the one who did most of the yelling and the shouting in the room at the Washington County Courthouse, shouting and yelling at the city prosecutor because he wanted to tell her how to do her job for him to prosecute the case. So he's the guy. So now you have a picture of the guy who did all of that yelling and shouting.
And if I can comment on this clip, first of all, he is lying. Mr. Dewuski did not receive a citation. Do we have a copy of the police report from Centennial Lakes? They did not give him a ticket. There it is.
Right.
Officers responded to it, and they told her to document any more harassment, and so there's the police report.
And at the bottom it says, let's pull it up. Go ahead, let's pull it up. The computer, thank you. It says at the bottom here, let's take out the words, info for report purposes only, clear. That means nothing here. We just wrote it up because a bunch of people were kind of telling us we had to write something up, but we don't see any reason to write out a ticket, so they didn't write out a ticket. And that's the police that had jurisdiction over the area where the supposed incident
I believe
occurred.
it was Anoka County.
Yeah.
It was in Anoka County, and that's when Centennial Lakes is.
Right. So they found, the police of that jurisdiction said, no way, Jose, nothing.
That's another one of the lies. I'll show you. We have a couple other lies that we're going to point out that Mr. Huber has also made too with the clips.
Okay. Now.
There. Well, that pretty well speaks for itself. I thought we covered it quite well.
The evidence spoke for itself. That's why they gave it to the judge. He did basically what's summary judgment, and he came back with a verdict there, or an interpretation, and the council majority just doesn't like it.
Absolutely not. Well,
It only cost us $50,000.
Let's go to the next clip, please. 373.
Report where Tina said Tim Dewuski followed her from this meeting. He was not at this meeting. He was working. So that is a false police report right there. She lied making a police report, okay? You can't do that. Centennial Lakes dismissed the whole thing, and for some reason it got back to Washington County. So there's a lot of issues that aren't being addressed here.
Loren, you lied saying he was a reporter. You lied on your affidavit.
No, I did not lie. He is a reporter. He's on my show regularly. Watch the show,
Why does
Tom.
that make him a reporter?
Because he brings information to me, like on Wildwood, Mercury and Lost Lake, those types of things.
Really?
Yes.
Can you just very briefly explain how Grant gets Mercury into Long Lake again? Because that's one of Mr. Dewuski's things. I never did understand that. We're miles away from it.
Okay, he's just baiting you there. And again, I want to emphasize is that regular folks can be reporters. You don't need certification. You don't have to be authorized. If you are out gathering information and you are an information gatherer, you're a news gatherer.
Well, we don't have to play the rest of the clip, but one of the things they said, well, how can Mercury get 2.5 miles from there? Well, on the way in, I used my odometer, and it was 1.6 or 1.7 miles. And as I explained on the clip, they put large granular sand underneath the sewer so it doesn't shift and freeze. And what happens is they have a pond there. Well, the pond's always dry because the water, the elevation is approximately 100 feet higher where the school is, and the lake is 100 feet lower. Well, we all know water flows downhill.
Well,
this has been documented
yes.
that it follows the granular fill down to Lost Lake.
Well, because that serves as a wicking mechanism. People realize that when you have granular material that is encased in clay, where is the water going to go? It is going to follow the wicking system, and if it's going downhill into the lake, that's a pretty simple physics question.
And I believe that pretty well explains it. And we're going to have some documentation. We're going to continue on the pollution in the lakes, and I will be showing you some documentation that's very interesting. Again, there was 20 minutes of the mayor asking me questions, calling me a liar. It was like he was trying to get a deposition and trying to bait me into admitting something that.
Oh, he's a master at that, Loren.
Oh, absolutely.
He knows exactly what he's trying to do and try to get you caught up so that he can direct Nick again to drag you back to court.
Oh yeah, it's. So let's continue with the impaired lakes. Let's go to 374. And the first one, I believe we have. There we go. Pollution Agency impaired waters. It's hard to see, but if you.
Okay, which lake am I looking for?
Well, it's Lost Lake and it's not on there. White Bear Lake isn't on there either. In one of the clips we have, and I don't know if we're going to get to it, Mr. Huber is lying once again, and he says, well, White Bear Lake has been impaired since the 70s. It's had mercury. Well, it is not. White Bear Lake was not listed as an impaired lake, but in the other clip that you have on here, in 2012, Lost Lake was recently placed on the impaired lake list with mercury in it. There we go. 4 more local lakes is impaired, and one of them is Lost Lake.
And it says Lost Lake was added to the list because of the high mercury levels found in the fish. And so again, you can't just ignore these issues. As residents, as citizens, that's why you must always be alert to what is going on, because there are folks within the community that don't want to accept that there are problems such as mercury in Lost Lake.
Well, I don't know if we'll get to the clip, but there. What's interesting, and I'm going to read from a letter here, folks, okay? Tim and Sheila Deweski, thank you for requesting a market analysis for your home in Montemedi. Unfortunately, given the current circumstances, it would be very unlikely, if not impossible, for you to find a buyer willing to purchase your property at a reasonable price. Since I'm not an attorney, I can't give you legal advice. But find one that's experienced in real estate law and environmental hazards as quickly as possible. Okay, line 288, other material defects or facts. Environmental concerns. Do your knowledge have any of the following environmental concerns previously existed or currently exist? Hazardous waste or substances. If you answer yes to any of those, while the water condition quality looks to be improving, which is normal, a larger concern is mercury contamination. If mercury is found in your well, financing would be difficult or may not be available at all. And that's from Medina Realty, okay? So, you know, they're poo-pooing this again where the
That's the same firm that that Councilman Huber works for, is Edina Realty. And if you look at Coldwell Banker, and of course their team, of course Tom's not a team player. They won't allow him on a team.
His picture's never on the back of the
full
page
with
ad.
the team of Coldwell deals, but the team they have is Team Med Council, folks, and that's what we have to be aware of.
Okay, something else I have here, and this is from Michigan State University, and Tim's dog died, and what they found was mercury. It was mercury poisoning, and that's what he died from. We have the documentation here. And of course, the mayor's denying, and Huber's saying, oh no, there's no mercury.
When they talk about documentation, you know, when they held up that report that you just saw on television that came from the Washington County Legacy Program in 2010, Lost Lake was not listed, nor was White Bear Lake for mercury. In 2013, it was. Folks, we don't have to make it up. We're very well documented. When you see Mr. Carr and Mr. Huber, they don't have documentation. That's where they're getting in trouble. They think that, like typical people, once they've said it 2 or 3 times, it must be the truth.
Well, they're covering things up. Again, Wildwood, 2 of the teachers do have cancer.
2 teachers and a 6-year-old girl that went to elementary school. Folks, I'd question it very strongly, and be aware they're trying to put a private hockey arena on public school property, and in order to do that, they have to drill through 20 to 30 feet of garbage with helium coils to support the building, and that too will affect the health and welfare of the surrounding citizens.
Well, this fiasco just keeps going. We have a lot more we could get into. I had many more clips. Unfortunately, we don't have time to do them. But you kind of see what's happening. We're the minority on the council, and they have blatant disregard for the truth. Next month, I'll be bringing you more updates of what's going on.
Lauren,
until
look,
then,
we bring Aaron Brockovich and Bob Balcock. So what do they bring? Tina Loban?
yeah. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.